we're going to talk about great tips, tricks, and technique for how to do a great forward start. And we're primarily talking about using a wedge on the block and using the handrails as we have on our blocks. First up is the wedge. Now you really want to make sure you're going to set the wedge in a great position to set you up for a great start. We want to set the wedge as close to the front as we can get while maintaining a 90-degree angle in our knee bend with that back foot that's on the wedge. And we want the balls of our feet on the wedge and our heel off of the wedge. We also want to make sure that the wedge is set in a position in which we can take our mark with a nice straight back, not an arched back. In terms of setting our feet, we want to make sure that front foot, those toes are curled over the edge, front edge of the block. And again, like we said with that back foot, putting the balls of the feet on the wedge and leaving the arch and the heel off of the wedge. When the take your mark cue is given, we want to try and grab the handrails. And of course, if there's no handrails, we want to grab the front of the block with our hands, and we're trying to pull the handrails or the front of the block up towards us to really engage our arm muscles so we can use that to help our start as well. In leaving the block, we want to make sure that our first movement is forward. And one way to do that is to make sure that we are jumping off the block with both feet at the same time. After that, we're using our hands to push forward off the blocks, and then we're going to swing them into a streamlined position. Now, there is some debate in what's the best way to get those hands quickly into that streamlined position, but really it comes down to what each individual swimmer is most comfortable with. And again, all we want to make sure we're doing is getting into a nice tight streamline by the time we enter the water. After we jump off the blocks and throw our hands into the streamline, we want to make sure that we're squeezing our core to get into a nice, tight, perfect streamline before entering the water. Getting into a great streamline position before we enter the water is going to ensure that we have a great start. Upon entering the water, our ultimate goal is to get that whole body entering through one small hole in the water. When practicing, I like to imagine that I'm diving through a hula hoop or even smaller to make sure that my body is disturbing the least amount of the water surface as possible upon entry. This is going to reduce the drag that we take into the water with us. A great dive is imperative to maximizing our speed into the water, and as we know, the fastest we'll ever be in any race is entering the water after a start. The rest is just trying to slow down the least amount that we can.